2018 to order. If you'd please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please let the record note that with the exceptions of Mr. Ramos, Ms. Merritt, and Ms. Becerra, all council members are present. We have minutes for the meeting of November 5th. Without objection, they'll be approved. Seeing none, we'll move on to our schedule of committee meetings. Ms. Rabine.
There are no city council committee meetings this week, so we'll probably have a few next week. But because of Thanksgiving Day holiday, we're not having any committee meetings. We do, however, have a special meeting on Friday. A special city council meeting has been set on Friday. Help me out with the time. Is it 3 o'clock, right? And that'll be right here in the city council chambers.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. We'll move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on the agenda this evening. Commissioner Curtis.
Good evening. Actually, Jean Curtis, 1419 Howell Street. I live in Ward 2. I'm here representing myself, not the county. So the item that I wanted to visit about is on the agenda, but it's in the consent agenda. So I would want to talk about it a little bit because I thought maybe somebody would take it off the consent agenda. So that is, it's item
Commissioner,
number.
you'll have an opportunity to comment on that item.
On the consent agenda? Okay,
yes,
I'll do it then.
Thank you. Any other general public comment this evening?
Candy Matthew Jenkins, 1211 Cooper. And I heard the ad today about the classes that are being offered by the city, and I think that's a swell idea. I thank you for that one. I'm reading from the Soviet Art of Brainwashing, Psychopolitics, the Art of Mental Healing, as read into the Committee of Un-American Activities between 1936 and 1939. The financing of psychopolitical operation. The financing of a psychopolitical operation is difficult unless it is done by the citizens in government. Although vast sums of money can be obtained from private patients and from relatives who wish persons put away, it is nevertheless difficult to obtain millions unless the government itself is cooperating. The cooperation of the government needed to obtain these vast sums of money is best obtained by the organization of mental health groups composed of leading citizens who bring their lobbying abilities to bear against the nation's government. Thus can many programs be financed that might otherwise have not had to be set aside by the psychopoliticians. The psychopolitical operative should exert consistent and continued effort toward forming and continuing in action innumerable mental health groups. The psychopolitical operative should also spare no expense in smashing out the existence by whatever means of any actual healing group, such as that of acupuncture in China, such as Christian Science, Dianetics, faith healing in the United States, and such as Catholicism in Italy and Spain, and the practical Psychological Groups of England.
Any other general public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda items there. Were approved unanimously in council standing committees, and we save a little time on Monday evenings by considering these items all at once. Ms. Rabine will read the list of consent agenda items aloud, so those in the audience and at home will know what we're considering, and we'll take public comment on those items before we vote. And it's epic tonight, Ms. Rabine.
It is epic. I've been trying to rally all day for this moment. We have 14 items on tonight's consent agenda. Some of them have multiple motions. Let's get to it. Number 1 is to ratify claims in the amount of $763,647.42. Number 2 is to approve claims in the amount of $622,214.82 for checks that are dated November 20th, 2018. The first one, the ratifying the claims, number 1 was for checks dated November 13th of 2018. Number 3 is to approve and authorize the purchase of one 2019 F-250 pickup truck for the fire department from Bison Ford of Great Falls, Montana, in the amount of $34,900. This purchase is part of the Montana State Cooperative Purchasing Program. Number 4 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the Housing Navigator grant contract with Partnership Health Center for a Title I funds allocation in the amount of $60,000. Number 5 is to confirm the mayor's appointment of Anthony Moretti as architect to the Building Code Board of Appeals for a term to commence immediately and expire on June 30th of 2021. Number 6 is to approve the purchase of 4 2019 Ford F-350 Super Cab four-wheel drive pickups for the water utility. That purchase going to Bison Ford of Great Falls, Montana. Purchase price of $32,591 each for a total of $130,364 for all 4 units. This purchase, again, is part of a Montana State Cooperative Purchasing Program. We're purchasing 2 2019 Ford F-150 Super Cab four-wheel drive pickups for the water utility as well. Also from Bison Ford of Great Falls for a purchase price of $31,225 each, with the options for a total price of $62,450 for both units. And this purchase is also part of that Montana State Cooperative Purchasing Program. Number 8 is to approve the purchase of one 2019 F-250 Crew Cab four-wheel drive pickup for the sign shop department. Also from Bison Ford of Great Falls for the purchase price of $31,693. This purchase is also part of that Montana State Cooperative Purchasing Program. Number 9 is to approve the purchase of one 2019 Ford F-250 Crew Cab four-wheel drive pickup for the Parks Department from Bison Ford of Great Falls, Montana for the purchase price of $31,693. This purchase, part of the Montana State Cooperative Purchasing Program. Number 10 is not a pickup. It's to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a purchase agreement with Systems Northwest for equipment and installation of video surveillance equipment at the Missoula Water property located at 1345 West Broadway at a cost not to exceed $54,304.70. Number 11 is the first reading and preliminary adoption of an ordinance. We're setting a public hearing on December 10th, 2018, and preliminarily adopting an ordinance to repeal any ordinances related to the enterprise commercial overlay zoning district that are established, applied, or amended, and to amend the city's zoning map to remove existing district boundaries for the EC overlay that was adopted under the city's former zoning ordinance, Title 19. It was replaced by the zoning ordinance in Title 20. Number 12 is the first reading and preliminary adoption of an ordinance. This is to set a public hearing on December 10th, 2018, and preliminarily adopt an ordinance to repeal any ordinances relating to the special district number Number 2, affectionately known as the SD2 zoning district, that are established, applied, or amended, and to apply city standard city zoning districts B2-2, B3-2, C1-2, and C2-2 that regulate land use and building standards as shown on the attached proposed zoning map that's attached to the council's information online this evening. Number 13 is to adopt a resolution of intention to annex and incorporate within the boundaries of the city of Missoula, plus or minus 3,227 acres of land west of Reserve Street, north and south of Highway 10 West, as shown on exhibits A1, A2, A3, and A4, and zone these parcels A aviation, M1-2 limited industrial, M1-R limited industrial residential, RT 5.4 residential, 5.4 two-unit townhouse, Canyon River Village planned unit development, M1-2/NC-MDP, which stands for Missoula Development Park Limited Industrial, Missoula Development Park Neighborhood Character Overlay, C2-2 with an MDP, which is Community Commercial Missoula Development Park Neighborhood Character Overlay, and OP3 with an NC-MDP, which is Public Lands and Institutional Zoning District with the Missoula Development Park Neighborhood Character Overlay, as shown in Exhibit C, and set a public hearing on all of those matters on December 10th. That was a really long way of saying that the city is considering annexing an area out near the Missoula International Airport, the Industrial Park, Canyon Creek Village subdivision, and segments of West Broadway and the Montana Rail Link rights of way. Let's see, number 14. It's a three-parter. The first part is the first reading and preliminary adoption, setting a public hearing on December 17th, 2018, preliminarily adopting an ordinance amending Title 20 to revise Chapter 20.25 overlay districts, replacing the existing section of 20.25.080, which is the D downtown overlay, with design excellence overlays generally, and incorporate associated text with this newly named section, create two new overlay districts called Design Excellence Downtown Overlay, which will be codified as 20.25.081, and the Design Excellence Corridor Overlay, which will be codified as 20.25.082, and amending existing sections Design Review 20, which is 20.85.080, and Design Review Board, which is 20.90.020, as amended with staff recommended changes. The second part is a first reading. Now I can't talk. First reading and preliminary adoption, set a public hearing on December 17th, 2018, and preliminarily adopt an ordinance to rezone certain property to be included in the Design Excellence Overlay zones as described in Exhibit A and referenced in Exhibit B. And the third part is to set a public hearing on December 17th to consider a resolution to adopt the Design Excellence Manual to be used in conjunction with the Design Excellence Overlay General in Title 20 of Missoula Municipal Code, the city's zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Questions or comments from council members? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment on any of the items on the consent agenda? Commissioner Curtis.
Again, Jean Curtis, 1419 Howell, here as a citizen of Ward 2. I would ask that you take item number 13 off the consent agenda, just so you could have a little more conversation. And my reasons being, I just think that you're ahead of the game on and annexing this. This is not an underserved area of the county. It is served by for all of the same things that the city will provide: fire, parks, law enforcement, etc. Your own staff packet or council packet acknowledges that the city police and the city fire are already kind of at their limits, and the chief said, chief of police said that he would like to do a study to see how many more people you would really need to serve that area. So I think that the capacity isn't really there. This is kind of an odd one, that the annexation will place an unfair burden on Missoula Rural Fire Department. So this is the first time that a county TIF is being proposed to be annexed by the city, and Missoula Rural Fire has provided services there for 20 years. This is the first year that they finally get all the increment, and then it will get annexed and become part of the city fire. The last one is, I think, as big an issue as any, which is the concern about affordable housing. So you know, you do have a city affordable housing initiative, which I think is great. Their report and their plan aren't out yet. Canyon Creek Village is a neighborhood that does have homes that are affordable. They're for first-time home buyers, people moving from a mobile home to their first stick-built home, and seniors that are downsizing as they move on to fixed incomes. By annexing this neighborhood, the taxes are estimated to go up about 20%. That means their house payments will go up, and they will get no additional service that's visible to them. It will be provided by different people, but it's the same service. Those homes also qualify for USDA rural development money for a down payment. Right now, if they qualify, they can get up to $5,000 to go toward a down payment, but they cannot get that if they live inside the city limits. So the inability to access the USDA and the increase in taxes with no new service will take several hundred homes out of the current inventory of affordability. So I would just ask that you wait. You also don't have an annexation plan. So if you could take it off the consent agenda, at least we can have a little more discussion about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else on the consent agenda? All right. I would just remind folks that what you're doing this evening is setting a public hearing for December 10th, which is when the substantive conversation around the annexation would occur. You all can do what you want. If anyone wants to remove the item, fair enough. I'm sorry, Mr. Von Lossberg?
I don't want to remove the item. I was basically just wanted the opportunity to express what you largely covered, which is we've been discussing this for quite some time in committee. We're setting a public hearing. I want to thank Ms. Curtis for the letter. I certainly went through it in part and exploring some of the details, and I don't want anyone to be under the impression that by not removing it from the consent agenda tonight is in any way wanting to limit the discussion about this. I'm supportive of having the public hearing for that very reason, so I just thought it was worth clarifying.
Fair enough. All right. With that, we'll have a roll call vote.
On items 1 through 14 of the consent agenda, Anderson. Yes. Anderson votes yes. Armstrong. Armstrong votes yes. Cares. Yes. Cares votes yes. DeBari. Yes. DeBari votes yes. Harp. Yes. Harp votes yes. Hess. Hess votes yes. Jones. Yes. Jones votes yes. Von Lossberg. Von Lossberg votes yes. And West. Yes. West votes yes. Would any of you like to change your vote? That's 9 ayes and 3 absent.
And the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, and the community forum. The only one of those we have this evening is a housekeeping announcement that the public hearings on ordinances to amend Title 20, that's our zoning ordinance that would add an aviation zoning district and a development park neighborhood character overlay district. Those public hearings have been rescheduled and noticed for November 26th at 7 o'clock right here in council chambers. We'll move on to special presentations. We've got 2 of them tonight in the form of proclamations. First, ladies and gentlemen, whereas small businesses form the backbone of our local economy, generating jobs and improving the quality of life for citizens, and whereas the city of Missoula, Montana supports the efforts of local businesses and recognizes the critical role they play in our community, and whereas Small Business Saturday is a nationwide campaign to cultivate business for small merchants on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, And whereas Small Business Saturday will stimulate growth locally for small merchants by following in the tradition of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, two of the busiest shopping days of the year and best to be avoided. And whereas, sorry, that was an editorial comment, and whereas we encourage citizens to consider shopping small merchants on Small Business Saturday as a way to boost the local economy and strengthen our small business community. Now, therefore, I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula, in the state of Montana, do hereby proclaim November 24th, 2018 in Missoula as Small Business Saturday, and I reckon downtown will be hopping. Next, ladies and gentlemen, whereas Habitat for Humanity of Missoula has built 53 homes in Missoula since 1991 in order to provide affordable housing, all while empowering families to build their own homes through 500 required sweat equity hours. And whereas Habitat has engaged more than 2,500 individuals and regular volunteers who have contributed more than 182,000 volunteer hours in Missoula since 1991. And whereas Habitat has provided stable, safe, and healthy homes and shelter since 1991 to 145 Missoula children living in poverty and living in poverty housing. And whereas Habitat's partner family homes have contributed more than $1 million to the Missoula City and County property tax base, and whereas Habitat is providing a long-term solution to the affordable housing crisis in Missoula, now therefore I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, that's 2 days from now, Noreen, as a day of giving thanks with Habitat for a day for giving thanks with Habitat for Humanity of Missoula. And here to accept the proclamation and say a few words is the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of Missoula, Ms. Noreen Humes. Welcome, Noreen.
Do I come up and get that?
Sure. Thank you.
Good evening. I know you have a big agenda and you want to get home eventually, but I just have a few words to say. I won't take up much of your time. I just came from my own home and my oasis there with my children and my partner. And I just, as I was thinking about what I was saying tonight to you all, I realized that I take my home sometimes for granted. And I know that many of us do. I think it's human nature. And especially when I have one bathroom for 4 people, and sometimes I complain a lot about having that one bathroom. But in any event, I also asked my children in the last week what it means to them to live in a home that they own. And my 11-year-old said, well, Mom, everything. Like I should know what she means and that I was supposed to understand that before she said it. And then she proceeded to tell me that she knows of a girl in her 6th grade class at Washington Middle School who does not have a home, does not live in an apartment. And Estella, my daughter, said, Mom, she is just sad all the time. And that certainly pulls at all of our heartstrings. We all know that there's many children in Missoula that don't have homes. My 15-year-old said, well, Mom, it's changed for me, because I asked her the same question a couple years back. She said, for me now, it means that my heart has a place that can be still as I dream about the things that I can affect the world to change how we live. We all have amazing children in this community, but their perceptions about home is really important. This is what Habitat does. We impact families, we impact children through our model of helping families build and then selling a mortgage to these families where they're becoming a homeowner. We are instilling stability, security, safety, and ultimately self-reliance. And these families are also immediately, in so many ways, because they can now afford a payment, they can now afford other bills, they are able to engage in our community in a very different way. We are part of Habitat International. I'll just run through this really quickly because some of you may not know. Habitat International works in 70 different countries. We are one of 1,400 affiliates in the United States and one of 8 in Montana. We all work collectively in our own little neck of the woods. Statistics, actually I want to back up. Habitat International collectively has housed over 6 million people globally in the last 42 years. Habitat Missoula is 27 years old, and I think the coolest thing that we do is we impact children's lives in a significant way. Habitat International has pushed out some statistics, I'll run through 3, that children who grow up in homes that their parents or caregivers own are 25% more likely to graduate from high school, 16 times more likely to attend and graduate from college, and 20% less likely to become teenage parents. We in Missoula have knowledge that these impacts also impact Missoula children because we talk to those children who were raised in Habitat homes and are now adults and how that impacted their lives. This impact on children, along with the fact that 100% of our purchasing power goes into the Missoula community, and the fact that we have made this benchmark of $1 million contributed from our partner families' homes, property taxes, now total $1 million, going to city, county, and state school system tax base. We strongly feel that we have and continue to provide Missoula with a significant, long-term, sustainable impact on the families that we serve. The challenges are a lack of capital. We wish we could build more than 2 homes a year, but that's all we can afford to do. And just like the 249 other nonprofits in Missoula, we're vying for all those fundraising dollars locally, regionally. We do not get funding from Habitat International. We have to raise it all annually to meet our construction costs. And right now, our construction costs have doubled since 2014, and the average price that is taking us to build a home, which is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, is around $200,000. This includes the property underneath the home, the infrastructure for the home, and the construction costs, of course. Keep in mind that includes about 85% of volunteer labor. So what's happening for us is we are reaching that threshold currently where we can no longer serve the 40 to 60% AMI that we typically have served over the last 25 years. In 2 to 3 years recent, we're serving more of an average around 65 to 75% AMI. So those lower income folks that we initially served, we can no longer do that. We just can't simply afford to build with them. The exciting news, and I'm almost done, is that we've built 55 homes by the end of this year. We've housed 145 children, and we are significantly impacting the Franklin to Fort neighborhood in a 2-block radius. We built 2 homes in 16, 2 homes in 17, and 2 homes this year. And we moved back across into Burlington Street for 2 homes next year, which totals 8 homes in this 2-block radius in Franklin to Fort, and housing total of 19 children. 2 of those lots were significantly in need of rehabilitation. One, we just deconstructed a large shed. The other one, we cleared of trailers and debris and hundreds of mice, and the neighbors love us because they don't have mice in their homes anymore. So we're really proud of the work we've done in this neighborhood. We also keep approximately 600 volunteers busy annually, which equates to about 15,000 on average hours per year on our build site and in the Restore in East Missoula. In closing, I am a part of the local discussion with the groups in town on affordable housing that I think you all are aware of. I'm also a part of one of the technical groups for developing the affordable housing policy for the city. And I'm grateful to be at the table, and I'm very thankful to be part of what I hope is solution-oriented short-term goals and long-term goals. And I'm confident that the process that is happening at the city level will provide some very creative solutions for Missoula for affordable housing. I guess for those in the room, any of us, I just want to say that in our global housing crisis, that we are all very lucky for those of us who do own homes. And I am very fortunate and grateful on this day of thanks for my own home and to have a roof over my head that I can raise my 2 girls in. So I thank you, Mayor Engen, for this proclamation. I thank all of you for the time you're taking to listen to Habitat information, and I hope you all have a nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Ms. Humes. Thanks for all the good work you do. Thanks to all those volunteers and those families. We will move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the public hearing portion of our agenda. State law and our own council rules set guidelines for inviting community comment in a formal way on a variety of issues, and following the staff report on each of these, council and I will invite comment. Council typically votes on the same evening as a public hearing unless one council member elects to return that item to committee for further consideration. We have but one public hearing this evening on a conditional use request at 2700 Paxson Street for the Dram Shop Central Tavern use. And our staff report this evening comes from Ms. Baker. And mood lighting.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny Baker. I'm with Development Services, and this evening I am presenting a request from Zachary and Sarah Millar of the Dram Shop for approval of a tavern conditional use at 2700 Paxson Street. The reason for this request is that taverns require conditional use approval in all zoning districts except for the CBD. This is the location of the property. It is just south of Southgate Mall and across from the new theaters that have been built down there. This is a closer view of the property. It's outlined in red. This is a commercial building that has 8 suites in it, and it has been occupied by retail, food, and drink establishments as well as offices. If this request is approved, the Dram Shop Central will be in the far west end where you can see the arrow pointing, and they will occupy 2,468 square feet of this space. You will see more images of the facade and the building shortly. Zoning for the subject property is C1-4, which is neighborhood commercial. A tavern requires conditional approval in this zoning district. The growth policy recommends a land use designation of regional and commercial services for all of the areas shown in pink on this slide. The location proposed for the Dram Shop is with a white star on it. Regional and commercial services are those defined as places suitable for serving the needs of the broader region and which often require larger land areas. This location plan is to give you a general idea of where the location for the proposed new Dram Shop is situated in relation to the other existing buildings in the area. It is south of the mall, south of the theaters, and you can also see it's in pretty close proximity to the Bitterroot Bike Trail, which is just to the northwest of this location. This is the proposed site plan. The Dram Shop would occupy, as mentioned before, about 2,500 square feet of the existing Paxson Plaza commercial building. There is an existing parking lot, as you can see here, that is in front of the building. There are 80 vehicle parking spaces here. The proposed Dram Shop requires 25 spaces, and the other uses in the building require 33 for a total of 58. So the 80 spaces that exist here are in excess of the Title 20 requirement for the number of required vehicle parking spaces. There's no expansion of the existing commercial space proposed, but there is both interior and exterior improvements that will be part of this project, including an outdoor seating patio and landscaping and some bicycle facility improvements. This slide shows the floor plan. To the left, you can see where the proposed patio will be. Altogether, this will be a 92-seat tavern. This is a rendering of the building as if you are looking at it from the parking lot. This is how it currently looks. And then this is another rendering of proposed conditions where you can see the addition of the patio on the side. This is the same thing here. There is a service drive that runs along the right, and that will still be accessible. Considering conditional use review criteria, there are 4 that you are familiar with. Compliance with zoning standards, whether the proposal is compatible with the character, the site, and building design in the area, if it is compatible in terms of operating characteristics, and also if it conforms with traffic safety for all modes of transportation. As with all conditional uses, this will comply with zoning and engineering standards that will be confirmed at the time of building permit approval if condition of approval number 1 is adopted. This does match in terms of the character. It's compatible in terms of both site and building design. It's an existing building. It's a commercial building surrounded by other commercial uses, and there's no exterior expansion. As far as operating characteristics, the surrounding area is a mix of commercial uses that include restaurants, retail, and there is another tavern and casino nearby. The proposed hours of operation for the Dram Shop will be from 12 to 10 p.m. State law does permit a closing time of 2 a.m., but that would be the same as the other tavern and casino in the area. Finally, for traffic safety, the area is well served for motorized and non-motorized transportation. There are numerous mountain line bus routes which converge at the mall, and as you saw before, the Bitterroot bike trail is adjacent to the property. There is ample parking for motorized transportation, and additional traffic generated by this use can safely be accommodated by the existing and recently improved infrastructure in this area. As a result, the staff recommendation is for approval of a tavern conditional use request in the C14 Neighborhood Commercial Zoning District at 2700 Paxson Street in accordance with Title 20, based on the findings of fact in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval. That is what I have to present. I'm happy to answer any questions, and Mr. Millar is also here.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Anyone care to speak on behalf of applicant this evening?
My name is Zach Millar. I operate the Dram Shop on Front Street. We've been in business for 3.5 years in downtown Missoula. It's been a great place to do business. Our hope is that our new shop in the south central part of the city can bring the same sort of commercial energy and community gathering place that our place on Front Street has become. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Malone.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. With that, I will open the public hearing. Anyone care to comment on this proposed conditional use? Seeing no takers, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions from council members? Mr. Dabari?
Thank you very much. Ms. Baker, I just wanted to ask you 2 clarification questions. The first one centers around to what portion of 2700 Paxson Street the conditional use request will apply. I mean, I know the answer to this, but I think it's worth you reiterating for the folks in the audience that it's not the entire 2,700 as it is suggests in the agenda today. Can you make some clarification around that, please?
You are right. If this conditional use request is approved, it applies only to the location that is specified here at the end of the building. So rather than the full 11,716 square feet, this would only apply to the section at the end. It's, I think, Suite 8, and it's about 2,500 square feet.
Thank
Can't
you.
be transferred.
And it just runs with the use.
Yes.
Great. And second question? And I wonder if you could, well, maybe you could do it from that site plan. We had some conversation around this at committee and at committee meetings for other developments. Can you also talk a little bit about pedestrian access to the circulation network, the pedestrian circulation network in and around the mall?
Can. So this building is fronted by a sidewalk which is 8 feet wide, which is ample according to regulations, even with cars pulling in head first. So it's wider than the 7 feet required. We have added a condition of approval suggested that would add a pedestrian walkway so that somebody who is on that sidewalk fronting the building can get to the public sidewalk which runs along Paxson Street. We would suggest that it sort of cross the driveway opening and then lead pedestrians to the sidewalk that's right there to the left.
Further questions? Seeing none.
I just never remember when to comment. I'm going to wait until the motion is made.
Sounds
My
like a deal.
apologies.
Mr. Dubari, do you have a motion for us so that?
I do have a motion.
Yeah.
I move that council approve the tavern conditional use request in the C1-4 neighborhood commercial zoning district in accordance with the Title 20 Missoula City Zoning Ordinance, sections 20.10.020D, 20.85070, and 20.105.040I2, based on the findings of fact in the staff report and subject to the conditions of approval.
That motion is in order.
May I speak to that briefly?
Is there discussion on the motion? Mr. Dubari?
Thank you. I mentioned this during committee last week. I just think that there's a lot of great energy happening in Midtown Missoula these days, and I think that that the addition of your business will add to that. And thank you for considering Midtown, and I wish you good luck.
Ms. Karras?
My children go to a daycare a couple blocks from here, and when I first was considering the request, I was thinking about another alcohol establishment, and then I remembered that 2 businesses away from our daycare is the Fox Club Cabaret, and they're wonderful neighbors for a daycare. I think that you shouldn't always be suspicious of things that involve alcohol. And I see that the Dram Shop is already on Google Maps, so seems as though Google has given them their vote of approval. And I plan to join the Google this evening in support of this proposal. Thank you.
Mr. Von Lossberg?
I just wanted to thank Zach and Sarah for choosing to invest in another location. The Dram Shop is a wonderful asset to the community. I love taking my child to the Dram Shop because of the play area in the corner and for other reasons. So best of luck with the new venture.
Further discussion? I used to love the Dram Shop too. Seeing no further discussion, we've had a public hearing. We'll have a roll call vote.
On the motion to approve the tavern conditional use for the Dram Shop, Armstrong. Armstrong votes yes. Cares votes yes. Dubari votes yes. Harp votes yes. Hess votes yes. Jones votes yes. Von Lossberg votes yes. And West votes yes. Would anybody like to change a vote? It's unanimous. 9 ayes, 3 absent.
And the conditional use is approved.
Sorry, Ms. Anderson. Ms. Anderson votes yes. I was clairvoyant. Now it's 9 ayes and 3 absent.
And the conditional use is approved. Thank you. We don't have any additional public hearings this evening. I will pass on communications from the mayor, and we'll begin general comments from council members with Ms. Armstrong.
So Ms. West and Ms. Jones and I were in Helena today advocating for an affordable housing project that did not get approved, and we were very disappointed. I'm sure you all remember the Skyview project that was presented to council, which is a fantastic project that would have been on the Skyview mobile home site, which has now been scraped. And we gave it all our energy and our go, and it didn't happen, and we're hoping they reapply for next year. But yeah, we at least left them with the impression that Missoula needs affordable housing, especially at this time, and it is not just unicorns, puppies, and rainbows as the rest of Montana seems to perceive us, and that we have real people who have that should have the privilege of owning a home that they can afford in this town. So there's a little bit of a letdown today.
Mr. Dupree, Ms. Jones, Ms. Cares, Mr. Von Lossberg, Mr. Hess, Ms. West, Ms. West, sorry.
I do want to thank Alex and Tyler for all the hard work that they put into putting that project together. And I do also want to congratulate Homeward for their project that did get funded. And I also would just like to put a call to action out there for everyone in this next legislative session to be involved and maybe secure some state funding for affordable housing that doesn't exist currently. There's no reason any of these projects should have gone unfunded. There's need all across Montana, and it's a really uncomfortable position to be in for communities to be pitted against each other in this. Everybody's equally deserving of a home. So it was a really eye-opening experience, and it's incredible what people that develop affordable rental housing go through, and that they keep doing it is amazing. So thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank my fellow council members for making the trip to Helena and advocating on behalf of our community and those in need. And thank you all for holding down the fort. I've been absent for the last 2 weeks, traveling across the country at various conferences, and it's always so fun to go out into the world and say that I'm from Missoula, Montana, and most people know where that is, and 99.9% of the time people have a very positive reaction, and they say, oh, that's amazing, we love Montana, we love Missoula, and I couldn't agree with them more. And so it warms my soul that we have such a positive reputation, and we are an amazing community and have lots to be proud of. I would like to say this is my first council meeting back since the election, and I want to thank everyone who participated. For the first time, Montana ranks in the top 5 in the country of states in terms of voter turnout of people who are of the age to vote, not necessarily registered to vote, but of the age to vote. And that was pretty cool to be at this national conference and see Montana up there in the top 5. So thank you for everyone who took the time to participate in a cornerstone of our democracy. I also would like to acknowledge our elections administrators here in Missoula, Dana Cosby and Bradley Simon. They had a line outside all day long. They dealt with some machine problems, but they did it with composure and professionalism, and they tried to make sure that the voting experience for all of Missoulians in Missoula County was fair, and our vote count was accurate, a little slow, but that is okay. And they worked tirelessly on election day and leading up to it, and I want to publicly acknowledge them and thank them. So,
2 things tonight. First of all, I want to inform all of you, even though I think all of you do know, but for those out in the public, Gwen Jones and I have been working on putting together a local government citizens academy. And frankly, we could not do this without the help of the Office of Neighborhoods, in particular, Jane Kelly and Carrie Cosboda. Those 2 women have been trying to do this for probably 6 years, and between Gwen and I kind of nudging it forward, it's becoming a reality. But it's going to be an opportunity for our citizenry to be able to see behind the curtain, if you will, of what it takes to run our community. Because I think we all kind of assume certain things and find out there are some myths and some misperceptions. And frankly, this being my first year on council, if I hadn't had Gwen take me under her wing, my learning curve would be much slower paced. And what we view this opportunity to be is it gives our citizens the option to fast forward their learning curve when it comes down to government. And we hope that we have a great ripple effect that comes out of this. Those that are able to participate for the 8 weeks leave each session and are excited about what we're able to do. And that we can develop some succession planning so that the next person that falls into my shoes behind me has it a heck of a lot easier than I did. Secondly, I think this is the week of thanks that we have to really kind of echo. And I want to thank all of my colleagues, the mayor, Mr. Nugent, Marty Rabine in the back. You have been just all so very wonderful colleagues, teachers, mentors. I want to thank the press for always coming and speaking truth. We need that today. I thank all of our citizens who come. Sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's just sporadically. It doesn't matter. And to those who listen on MCAT or read the coverage, thank you for participating and letting us know that we're doing our job. Sometimes really well, and sometimes we need a little extra. And I want to thank the generations that have come before us. We would not have the Missoula, Montana that we have today, as Stacy mentioned, if it hadn't been for generations of leadership and who really saw something that could be had here. And we are pretty darn lucky to have the University of Montana in our backyard. And I think that's a large portion of why we are the community that we are. And to future generations out there, I promise you that we keep working and fighting to making sure that Missoula is a place that all of us can find an attainable home and that we are proud to live in.
We have no committee reports this evening, folks, nor any new business. Are there any additional items to be referred? Seeing none of those, any miscellaneous communications, reports, petitions, or announcements? Seeing none, as always, I thank you for your service. We will be adjourned.